right. Now, our next guest I had booked in earlier this week, but I don't think it's too late to talk to him about what I want to talk to him about. He got bumped because we were talking about the events surrounding the Māori Party earlier this week. He's a regular guest on the program. He's Kirk Hope from Business New Zealand. Kirk, lovely to have you with us, mate. I hear you have a new job, Kirk, or you're not going to be at Business New Zealand forever.
No, that's right. Thanks, Sean, and good morning. I'm heading to the Financial Services Council, so back to whence I came, the financial services industry in September.
Okay, what does the Financial Services Council do precisely?
Very good question. So, industry organisation for managed funds, KiwiSaver, life and health insurers, and some advisors. So, a pretty broad church.
All right. You've been at Business New Zealand a while, and it has been it's always been interesting in a position like yours. I wanted to talk to you specifically about the mood following the budget, Kirk, and talking to people. We had a most interesting conversation with Roger Douglas, who, of course, said that budget wasn't bold enough. And we look at economic indicators. Wellington, for example, is literally by population stagnant. Do you think the budget provided a boost to what it would be fair to say is a fairly maudlin business sector?
Look, a really good question. I think, though, we probably need to ask a different question, and that is, what is the role of government in a situation where, economy is in a difficult, going through a difficult period? Because effectively what we've had is through COVID and whatnot, and quite rightly in some areas, some stimulus, right? That's increased a lot of spending and a lot of debt. But that's happened all over the world. The question is how you rein that back, because that could not go on forever. And to Roger Douglas's point, could the government have been bolder in putting the economy through what would end up being quite a lot more short-term pain for more long-term gain? And I think there's no doubt that people would suggest, like Roger Douglas, that they could have, but there is a very real human consequence of some of those decisions. So the government said, hey, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to try and address some of these economic challenges as much as we can. But we really do want the private sector to be able to step into this space. And I think it's really interesting, Christopher Luxon's comments, and I think I actually very much agree with him, that if you're going to the government for a handout as a business, what are you doing? What you need to be doing is going with a strategy to say, this is the government's role, and whether that's funding or not, whether it's policy changes that help stimulate growth, have a decent plan around it, but don't be going there with your handout first. And I think that's absolutely right. We've got to just crack on with business, and if there is business to be done, be doing it.
Business sentiment was negative, or was not good before the budget. Is it any better after or not, Kirk? Because it feels to me, to be honest, and a number of commentators we spoke to said it is hard to get away from the feeling that New Zealand is becoming a low-growth, low-wage economy.
Well, I think the challenge. I think the challenge with that perspective is actually, if we are a low-wage economy, we are a very highly taxed low-wage economy, because next year, if you're on the minimum wage, you'll likely be in the second top tax bracket. So, or you would have been other than the tax cut. So as the mood improves, I think it's going to take some time. I mean, the key thing here, right, and I think we've talked about this before, Sean, is got to get a handle on inflation. The key thing is once there is a handle on inflation, then interest rates will drop back to, probably a better long-term level. I mean, they're pretty high at the moment. Business lending rates are extremely high, the highest since 2008. So it's particularly harming. The cost of capital is particularly expensive for businesses right now. I think, however, that does drive other opportunities for organisations other than banks. Banks are sort of doing their bit. pulling back a bit from risk. What that means is that there are other areas where, private providers are providing credit for small to medium-sized businesses. They're coming into the market because at that sort of rate, it's pretty attractive for them. They can provide it slightly under that,
Right.
still provide a...
Oh, God, we're not
return.
heading back into the mezzanine finance cowboys, are we, Kirk?
Well, I wouldn't say we're heading in that direction. I mean, I guess the question is, who needs the capital and for what purpose? And, you're not going to be a lender in this environment that gives away money without ensuring that you fully understand the risks related to that.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why, again, the cost of capital has gone up, because it is more risky. It's a more risky environment.
Yeah. Kirk, the other issue came up for business this week, and in some ways it was good that we delayed our initial appointment. Changes to the Holidays Act. They seem maybe minor, but I was, to be honest, looking at them in relation to the platform, and this is where your sick leave entitlements are commensurate with hours worked if you're a part or not a full-time employee. This is pretty good news for a lot of businesses, I would have thought.
So it worked long and hard on seeking and obtaining what we thought were going to be revisions to the Holidays Act, and they weren't put through under the last government. I think it's right for the minister to do what she's done, which is put out a consultation document on it. They have the answer. So, I mean, the question is really how, once they've consulted further, how quickly they can implement those changes. Because as you point out, Sean, they are pretty, they are good for business. They're good for business in a couple of ways. One, obviously, that pro-ratering issue for sick leave. But secondly, the government itself, some government departments have been in breach of the Holidays Act because the current approach to calculating it is incredibly complex.
Oh, God,
so if you think,
believe me.
Yeah, so you've had to do it, right?